on Access Tech Live.
Accessibility and travel. E-scooters coming to an end in Ottawa. And Honda's Scenic audio app.
This is Access Tech Live with Stephen Scott and Mark Aflalo. The latest in tech and accessibility every week. Follow us now and get involved at Access Tech Live.
Hey everybody, welcome to another episode of Access Tech Live. I am Stephen Scott. Mark Aflalo is back with us as well. How are you doing this week, Mark? I see you're back in your studio there. You're no longer in Halifax. Did you have the best time ever?
I had a great time. It was a lot of fun hanging out with some other AMI folks. I don't know what happened with the weather because I got back and I'm in a giant heat wave, as they are most of Canada. Yet for some reason in North Dakota it's snowing. So let's try to figure that one out. Maybe we can start a whole new show about it.
Well, there you go. And in Scotland, it's, just okay. So there you go. Listen, I actually do have with me in the studio here my own co-host this time around. You know, you had all the trappings, the joy of the people in Halifax last week. I have my own posse here in the studio with me. And that is my wife's guide dog, Coco, who may, during the show, make an appearance. She's actually lying down behind me right now. And I'm going to go with the number of grumps and groans that she makes to sort of tell me her view on the show. We'll get at the end. I'll count up as we go along the amount of grumps and groans she does. And that'll give us a sense of how the show has gone today. You up for that?
I'm good with that. If I see a wagging tail every once in a while, I'll try to point it out.
Now, listen, coming up on today's show, as well as looking out for a dog's tail, traveling with a disability can present unique challenges, of course, but there are many accessible places and activities available, and we're here to guide you on how to discover and enjoy them. Plus, as you heard up top, Honda Scenic Audio, not easy for me to say, has introduced a rather interesting app, and we actually talked about this a while ago, but how did it all come to be? We're going to be joined by the collaborating partners who made it happen. But before all that, let's kick off with this week's headlines with Mark.
Now, Access Tech Live headlines.
If you're in the Ottawa region and rely on those electric scooters that are all over the place to get around, you may want to buy your own because the Ottawa Accessibility Committee has recommended ending that e-scooter program as of next year. The city has been running a pilot program since 2020, allowing shared e-scooters operated by providers like Bird Canada and Neuron Mobility. However, concerns related to safety and accessibility have led to the recommendation. Now, during the pilot, geofencing technology was used to create specific zones for e-scooter use and parking, including transit stations and pathways and parking garages. Now, the accessibility concerns range from issues including obstructed pathways, unsafe parking, and potential hazards for pedestrians and people with mobility challenges. E-scooters have been found blocking sidewalks. They've been on ramps and other public spaces, making it pretty difficult for individuals with disabilities to navigate freely. Additionally, some riders even disregard the rules and ride the e-scooters on sidewalks, posing risks, of course, to pedestrians. The geofencing technology, which was used to regulate scooter zones, has not completely resolved the issues, leading to the recommendation to end the program next year. Apple has announced a new AI training program for all students and alumni of the Apple Developer Academy. The new initiative will be rolled out across 18 academies in 6 countries, benefiting thousands of students. The curriculum will cover essential AI technologies, including building and deploying machine learning models using their Core ML platform. The goal, of course, of the program is to empower developers with the skills they need to create impactful, inclusive, and innovative apps. Beginning this fall, every Apple Developer Academy student will benefit from a custom-built curriculum that teaches them how to build, train, and even deploy machine learning models across Apple devices. Very cool. This week marks the commercial availability of new Copilot Plus PCs that feature Qualcomm Snapdragon X chips designed for advanced AI tasks. New devices are now available, arriving in hands from companies like Dell, Acer, Alienware, HP, Lenovo, Samsung, and Asus, just to name a few, of course, along with Microsoft's own Surface lineup. The new PCs promise robust AI capabilities, such as real-time translation, photo restoration, and graphics upscaling. They all feature dedicated Copilot buttons on the keyboard, high RAM and storage capacities, along with strong battery life. The one thing missing, though, from the release is Microsoft's recall feature, which has been, recalled. And it's only going to be available through the Windows Insider program until they iron out the bugs and tweak things to adjust to public concerns. Are you ready for this summer's Amazon Prime Day? Because we are not. But don't worry, it's coming this July. And to prepare, Amazon is suggesting that you start creating a wish list and use price tracking tools like Camel to secure those once-a-year deals. The online retailers expected to discount a lot of their own tech, including Echo speakers, Kindle e-readers, alongside tech gadgets, household items, and apparel. Early deals always start before the event, and of course the competition's always on board trying to one-up Amazon themselves, like Walmart and Best Buy, etc., etc. The date itself has not yet been revealed, but once it is, we'll be sure to let you know so we can mark it off on our calendars. Microsoft is working with a hearing implant specialist, Med-EL, to develop accessible communication technologies for people with hearing loss. This new partnership will span several years and aims to enhance the tools and devices for individuals using hearing aids and implants. Microsoft will also support Med-EL's Global Children's Invention Contest. This is a pretty cool one. It's called Ideas for Ears, which provides technology to aid communication and innovation among young participants with hearing loss. Very, very cool stuff. Now, here's a little public service announcement to end off the headlines this week, in the form of a British man named Richard, who is suing Apple after his wife discovered his messages to a prostitute on a family iMac. Oops. Despite him deleting the messages from the iPhone, Richard claims the experience led to a costly divorce, and he's seeking compensation, claiming there was inadequate user knowledge about iMessage singing. Now, this is surely one way to offset your divorce costs if you can, but I don't think we're going to get very far in that process. Maybe read the fine print, Stephen. Maybe that's the way to do it. Or how about this? Don't be infidelity. It's just stick to the basics, okay? Don't use your phone.
Yeah, you've married your wife. Be happy with that, right?
If you got issues, there's a therapist for that.
Look, I will say this: he's lost $6.5 million as a result of this lawsuit, and he actually wants Apple to pay. He wants them to pay him back that money. It's not going to happen, is it? It's not going to happen. No, it's ridiculous. Hey, listen, Amazon Prime Day, right? Amazon Prime Day. Are you still excited about this? Because it feels to me it's like one of those big events. But now it feels, it was a great thing at the time. Now it just feels like it's a great way for Amazon to empty their warehouses and get some new stock in there.
It feels like Black Friday and Cyber Monday and Boxing Day in Canada. All of these are opportunities to savings. But I find that a lot of the time you don't see drops as much as you see the prices increase leading up to it, and then they drop to the price they're going to be anyway. So I get excited because there are some pretty good deals sometimes. Some of those companies that are Amazon exclusive, like Anchor and Ugreen and stuff like that make plugs and accessories, are always fun to get deals on. But yeah, I'm with you, Stephen. They clear out the warehouse, make some room for stuff. But it's just, it's like a made-up holiday to get people to get into shopping. And I get it. It probably makes them a couple $1 billion in the process.
Yeah, exactly. That's right. They do fine out of it. You mentioned Camel, which is a great resource because it's a great way to find out what else, where else the product might be available at either a cheaper price or to actually tell you if the price that's being offered is actually a good deal or not. Yeah. So really, really worth checking out that one. Listen, question of the week. Let's dive into this because this is a great one. Smartphones, as we all know, are getting more advanced every single day. But the question is, if you could design your dream smartphone, what unique feature would it have? Because you think they've got everything in there, right? So what else could you add that could make it even better? That's a good one.
Yeah, I got to think on that one. So while I think, Stephen, and while you think, you at home think as well, and let us know on all our social media platforms. It's at Access Tech Live. You can get involved right now. Pop it into the YouTube chat if you're watching on YouTube. It's always fun there. You can also shoot us an email to feedback@accesstechlive.com and get involved. Coming up, we'll break down some of the headlines this week, and a bit later on in the show, Christa Couture joins us, and we chat about the Honda Scenic audio app and how it all came to be. Stick around.
There's more Access Tech Live to come. Get involved and have your say at Access Tech Live on social media. We'll be right back. Access Tech Live will return in less than 2 minutes. Access Tech Live is in a commercial break. Access Tech Live will return in less than 2 minutes. Access Tech Live is in a commercial break. The show will return in less than a minute. Access Tech Live will be back in 30 seconds. This is Access Tech Live.
Now we're back on Access Tech Live, and we're going to dive into some of the stories making the headlines this week. I've got to start, Mark, with Copilot Plus PCs, the worst name ever given to a computer
You think?
ever. I mean, it's terrible. Come on, Microsoft, you can do better than this. But, you know, look, here's the question. Is it going to beat the MacBook? And if it does, do we care? Does it really matter? Is this true apples and Microsoft's? Does it make sense to compare these two? I don't know.
Let's not forget, Stephen, that when they compare them to the M3 processors and the MacBook Air, basically the entry-level M3 processor that Apple puts out there. So it's not really apples to apples in terms of what's out in the market today. I mean, they released the M4 processor in the iPad, and we're going to just start to see those appear in devices down the road. That being said, like, I've read some cool stuff from Dan Ackerman and some other people at The Verge who have been talking a lot about their hands-on experiences with these computers, and they're definitely showing that the neural processing unit, that other chip that is there just to offload the AI stuff, is performing quite well. And it's really making the whole overall experience a lot better. So I'm looking forward to it. Like, I hope to get my hands on in a couple weeks. I've asked them for the new Surface Pro to really experience that. I'm worried about compatibility, to be perfectly honest, about some apps and programs that I use, because in previous generations of Microsoft PCs that didn't have Intel processors, a lot of software didn't work out of the box. I'm assuming that's going to be a little bit different. No one's talked about it. So I'm kind of excited to check that out. I'm also excited to see what other companies are putting out, because, you know, Microsoft comes out with their Surface, and it's a great blueprint for what they're doing, but other companies tend to try to one-up them, right? They try to, okay, how can we take that to a new level? And you think of companies like Dell, Alienware, et cetera, some of the companies that want to put out gaming computers and see how they're really taking advantage of it. That kind of excites me.
And no matter how cool it is, Lenovo will always make it look as if it's wearing a suit, which is exactly what Lenovo are all about with their machines. But, you know, you're right. Samsung, I mean, they make some really cool, sexy hardware. You know, we know that in their phones. And it's very true of their laptops as well. I remember getting hands-on with a Galaxy Book a few years ago, and I thought, what an amazing machine. But I think we should come back a little bit on this. I know we're going to talk more with Microsoft's Jason Bromett next week, and we'll talk more about that conversation. But you know, I think for people who are asking that question, as I'm getting a lot on Double Tap, especially people writing in saying, you know, is this the time to buy a new computer? Is this the future? Should I be putting my money into this? Or is it like buying an electric car? Should I hold off and see how it all goes?
Listen, I personally think this is a first-generation device, although a lot of people are embracing it, so that it's proven technology. It's there. We've had these processors in our phones for many, many years. I would wait a bit. I wouldn't say wait a whole generation, but just wait till the reviews are really in and how people are using it the same way you're using it. It's kind of the same thing I tell people when they're just ready to buy a new computer in general. Like, is your current computer doing what you need it to do, and is it doing it well? If it's not, then yeah, it's time to upgrade, and now you have more choices than ever. But, you know, for me, for example, I'm using an M2 MacBook Pro. It's been over a year now. I'm looking forward to an M4, and I probably will upgrade because there are benefits across the board. But hardware now these days, Stephen, it's like, it's going so fast that the software is not even taking up enough percentage of the CPU and the power that's even there on the hardware side. So anything you buy, even from a couple of years ago, that might be my recommendation. Buy something from last year, save some dinero, save some money there, and actually get something that works perfectly fine for you. You don't need to jump on board to something new, unless, of course, you're into the gizmos and gadgets like we tend to be.
Yeah, and you're right, because of course there is a price attached here, and these are high-end premium machines. So, you are spending, there's no low end here. Not yet, anyway. There's no low end in this. So, you're buying into this, you're going to be paying some top dollar. There are cheaper options available to you that might suit your needs better. Consider a recent Intel Core processor, for example. Consider a decent AMD processor, Ryzen 5 or 9, would be a good option to go down that route looking at. You don't have to go out and buy this today. And support for existing machines from Microsoft is going to continue for some time. So we're not at a cliff edge point here. This isn't a move away immediately onto this new hardware. You should absolutely have years yet of being able to enjoy that Dell Latitude you bought in the 1990s, like I did, and rather enjoyed.
I'm sure you do.
It's a bit cost for a lot of people, and a lot of people are worried about it. They're saying, like you're saying, what about working with other applications? What about all this? It's really important to understand this is very much day one for this, but it does seem, going by some of the early reviews, that it's going well.
Yeah, it's going. It seems very promising. Now, I want to segue into something. I'm a big headphone guy. I love headphones. I have way too many pairs of headphones, to be perfectly honest. I've got a new pair of Beats Solo Buds that are quite fun that I'm playing with now. There's rumors in quotey fingers of a new Beats pill coming out in a couple of weeks. Rumors. Don't know anything about that. And you've got your hands on something that are kind of interesting, which are the Sonos Ace over-the-ear headphones. Now, Sonos, for those of you who have not heard of Sonos, they have been incredible at creating smart speakers that work together throughout your home. They've been doing this long before we had HomePods, long before we had any of these smart speakers out there. So this is their first foray into those Ace headphones that you just held up there, the nice little white color you have. What's your experience been so far? I know you've only had them for a couple of days now, but first impressions tend to be important when it comes to these things.
Absolutely. And, I am holding them up. They have this beautiful, I have to say, quite rather nice and welcome plastic finish to them on the outside, which I'm quite pleased about, because having the AirPods Max with that metal design makes them really heavy on your head. Yeah, too heavy. Whereas these, you don't have that problem. This is in the beautiful white, which apparently is, very easy to clean. That's something very important, apparently, if you wear makeup, not something I do. But you do have this, and part of the reason for that is because of these vegan leather inserts that they have on the inside, the little cushions that you wear over your ears. These are actually vegan leather, same for the headband at the top. So you have this beautiful, easy-to-clean device, and of course, very environmentally friendly as well. The other cool thing about these, and it's like any other Bluetooth headphones you can think of, right? You can connect a number of different devices to them. You can, of course, connect it through the Sonos app as well, and you can access all of your music through Sonos, the Sonos radio features, all of that stuff. But this actually has, Mark, physical buttons. Remember those?
What?
Not touch pads, not any of that nonsense. Actual physical buttons. And for a blind guy like me, that is exactly what you want. You want physical buttons. In this case, you've got one to pause, you've got one to play, you have an up and down, which allows you to skip forward and backward with tracks. You have a button to summon your assistant, and you've got that power button as well, which also acts as the connection for Bluetooth. It's very easy to set up through the Sonos app. Interestingly, though, Sonos did get themselves into a little bit of hot water in May because they launched a brand new app. And despite years of having a very accessible app for many blind people, especially for us to enjoy using our screen readers like VoiceOver, unfortunately, their new app was not accessible. And that is something which they were heavily criticized for. Something we're actually going to be talking about a lot more over on Double Tap in the coming days. But, something really interesting that happened because Sonos responded to this and said, look, you know what? We hold our hands up. We made a mistake. We screwed up, and we're going to fix it. So they've been working with the community. They've invested time and money, more importantly, into getting more visually impaired people, but also disabled people generally, to review these things ahead of time, get into the beta program early so they can get these issues fixed. So a misstep, no doubt, but it seems as if they're getting it sorted, which of course makes products like this possible for me to play with.
Well, this is the benefit of obviously people speaking out, because when you have such a history of being such an accessible app and you come out with a pair of headphones that in just their design alone with the tactile buttons and everything is a great accessible device in itself, you know, it's light, it's comfortable, it's great. The sound quality from what I understand are quite good. I'm going to get myself a pair as well because I guess I'm obsessed with these a bit. But yeah, that's an interesting little mess up. But I know they were also trying to get it to market at a point that made sense, especially with competition, having different options out there. So it is kind of interesting. I'm looking forward to hearing, you know, your longer term review, Stephen. Maybe when you get some traveling under your belt, perhaps to the dentist in a couple of weeks, we will figure that out.
Don't even stop me on that. We're
not going to get into that at all. We're going to take a quick break. Coming up, Christa Couture joins us to talk about traveling with a disability and how to make sure both you and your destination and everything you're doing are accessible. So stick around. This is Access Tech Live.
There's more Access Tech Live to come. Get involved and have your say at Access Tech Live on social media. We'll be right back. Access Tech Live will return in less than 2 minutes. Access Tech Live is in a commercial break. Access Tech Live will return in less than 2 minutes. Access Tech Live is in a commercial break. The show will return in less than a minute. Access Tech Live will be back in 30 seconds. Now, back to Access Tech Live.
Now, back on the show. Now, when you have a disability, finding accessible travel destinations and activities adds an extra layer of complexity for sure. Now, AMI TV has an incredible show all about accessible travel called Postcards From. Let's watch a trailer for the upcoming season.
I'm writer, musician, and amputee Christa Couture, and I love the thrill of travel.
Yes! It's cold on my butt.
Can accessibility and adventure coexist?
First motorcycle ride ever.
A great trip is an immersion of all the senses. Sight, taste, touch, sound, and smell. I'm on a journey to explore the boundaries of accessible travel across our vast country. This is Postcards From.
Now, that sounds fantastic. Now, Mark, you got the chance to catch up with Christa earlier this week, right?
I sure did. A great conversation. Let's roll it now. Okay, I got to ask you a question here. For most people, you know, traveling in itself is an annoyance. Of course, when you get your destination, you forget all about the annoyances along the way. Add a disability to the equation, there's a whole new layer of considerations. So I've got to ask you, just to get going here, what are some of the common misconceptions about traveling with a disability that you'd like to debunk?
Oh, gosh. I mean, some of them might just be what you expect. Like you say, it's a whole nother layer of considerations. I got to make sure I've packed, we all need our phone charger, but I need a charger for my prosthetic leg. It plugs in at night. And I have gone on trips and shown up and not had it. And I'm calling my prosthetist and they're trying to FedEx me one. And, and I need, there's a lot of sort of extra things I need. My crutches, I bring stuff in case I have phantom pain. Doesn't happen every time, but I don't want to be stuck somewhere in phantom pain. So I have like my heating pad and all sorts of things that I bring in case I'm in pain. And then, it's adding extra time and thinking through my physical capacity and the walk in the airport and should I get a wheelchair, and it just adds a little more planning every step of the way.
So when you're planning for a trip, how do you ensure that it's going to be accessible for your needs? And let's broaden this up a bit and try to give ourselves a scope of someone with low vision, for example, or various other disabilities.
I mean, one of the cool things, there's a lot of cool things about this show. So Postcards from, right, accessible travel show. And I mean, everything we do is made accessible to me because I'm the host, but that doesn't mean it's therefore universally accessible, because for me with my mobility issues, I might be able to do something, or we're visiting a location and they can adapt to what I need, but maybe they don't yet have it figured out how to adapt for some low vision or something else, another barrier. And partly like the way we film the show, kind of a travel show for the senses, each segment focuses on a different sense because we're trying to think of, sometimes that's the way, maybe the smell of a place is going to be your entry point and the way you experience it versus the touch, So for me, it's thinking about, can I get in? Can I get on? Can I get out? And is it safe for me on one leg? We just started filming season 6, and I went on a sailboat, which is something I've never done because I thought it would be not accessible to me, but we had to kind of hoist me onto the boat. But once I was there, I was okay. I mean, some of it is like actually unlearning some of my own assumptions about what I can do. But because we have a crew booking the show and doing the research and finding locations and asking all the questions, they're getting me to try things that I haven't tried before because I thought maybe I couldn't do it, And it's great. Like some cities, we'll go to Niagara Falls in season 5, and that's such a huge tourist attraction. They have a lot of accessibility stuff figured out. Of course, everything can always be improved. But then we go to somewhere small like Dawson City, and like the accessibility is poop, but the people are so keen and friendly and want to be there that they're creative and they're helping, so it kind of depends on the location.
Yeah, no, totally. Was there anything that had surprised you, or I guess a better question for that, any unexpected experiences that you might have had traveling to a location? Was there any moment that maybe challenged your perception of accessibility?
I mean, 2 things. One, as a sighted person, but for this show, for AMI, where the audience is primarily blind or partially sighted, I've learned so much about how to share those experiences. Like, I'm always trying to obviously be descriptive and think about, describing what I'm seeing. And that's been a really cool way to challenge my own assumptions about a perspective or what an experience is like, because as a sighted person, that's what I know, but I get to kind of be there as an interpreter. and that's been really eye-opening, as it were. And then for myself, it's what's been surprising is sort of finding things I could do that I didn't think I would like or could do. So we went to Whistler and I tried adaptive skiing. I did a Nordic sit ski, like cross-country sit skiing. I've never tried that. I've been an amputee for 30 years. I didn't think I would like it. I didn't like skiing on 2 legs, to be honest. So I was like, why would I try it on one? But I loved it. And it actually used my strengths, like, because I use crutches every day. Like, it was like, oh, this is all upper body. Like, this actually is already kind of suits me very well and suits my strength really well. So that was a really pleasant surprise. There was a few of those.
Are there any places or people that you met over the course of not only this show, but I mean, just travel in general in your life that, went above and beyond to make that experience better for you? And did that impact you?
I would say Dawson City. Like, Dawson is this kooky, faraway place, and there's Dawson kind of proper, and there's West Dawson, where everyone who lives on West Dawson is off grid. And so, this is a community that is used to helping each other out. You can't live through a winter that far north off your solar panels without your neighbors helping you. And we had this fixer cut eastbound, and in the winter they have to haul their own water. They have to go down to the river, cut a hole in the ice because the river, and haul their water back up. Like, they're living pretty rustically, and they rely on each other a lot. And so I found showing up there, it was so memorable and so welcoming, because they're a community that's so used to caring for each other that coming in as a new person and not being able to get around very easily there, it's a tough place for mobility, but they wanted to help. They wanted me to be included. They wanted, to be creative. It kind of made them see their town a little bit differently. So I would say Dawson.
I think you mentioned something there that's really interesting, which is, them seeing their town a little differently. And everybody learns from these experiences, right? You going into it, and I'm sure them as well, welcoming you. Are there any situations that you might have encountered unexpected accessibility issues? And how did you, or even the people you were with, handle it?
We had this whole scene planned on the little go-karts in Niagara Falls. Have you been to Niagara Falls? Like, that kind of downtown court, right? And there's that little racetrack. And so we're like, great, we're going to be at the scene. We get to we get to skip the front of the line because we got the cameras. And we get in, and the gas and the brake are on, like, either side of this, like, large
steering wheel column. Yeah.
Yeah. And because I only have one leg, I can't lift my foot up over the steering column every time I want to brake. So I was suddenly, we're like about to film, and I was like, we did not realize, because it was like, it's an automatic go-kart. No one thought to look at what the pedals looked like. And so it was like instantly that I couldn't do. I'm supposed to be getting in. There's this like long line of mostly 12-year-olds like yelling behind us for the cars to get going. And so we just had to do kind of a quick change where I just got in the passenger seat, and this other guy jumped in and drove me around. And it just didn't occur to us, because we were like, oh yeah, this will be no problem. I can drive. It's these little, gas and brake, easy, but it wasn't, so it was a reminder to look closely.
Yeah, no, maybe attention to detail, right? Take a production crew out of your equation here. Okay, no one's planning a trip for you. You're doing this by yourself. What kind of resources or tools do you use to make sure that where you're going is going to be accessible for you? And let's think, try to think big picture about other people with other kinds of disabilities. Are there tools or resources that you know of that exist?
Two things that I use. I mean, I often do, and this is lo-fi, but it's not really because it's the internet, but I will do a site search for words like stairs, elevator, so I'll be like elevator, site, whatever, that bar that I want to go see a concert at, because I'm looking at images. So it's like looking at image search and doing a site search to see if a website mentions accessibility, which ideally every business would do, but saying, oh, we're on the second floor, or there's an elevator, if there's some description. So I actually do that a lot. And then there's the app Access Now, of course, which is crowdsourced, and I'm always trying to add to it because I like looking things up on there. And then, if it comes down to it, but it's more work, is calling or emailing somewhere to just say, like, I can't tell what floor you're on or how to get in there, and I need to know. The onus is on the person with a disability. This, right? It's like we have to do so much research and so much preparation, and I wish that businesses and venues were more proactive in adding all of the access information, because it's not just ramps and stairs, it's also lighting and noise, and there's all sorts of different ways that people need to access a space. And so or even the size of seats. Like, can I sit in a tiny little theater chair if that's wide enough for my body, or all of those things. And businesses really could do more to make that information more available.
I don't want to ask you what your favorite child is, because I wouldn't do that. So what about your favorite destination that you've traveled to or experience that you've had so far?
My gosh, there's been so many, but in this season that's out now, I loved Salt Spring Island. I'd been to Salt Spring Island before, but we filmed last June, and I got to swim in the ocean with this group of women. I'm 45. I was the youngest person there. It's like all these women over 70. They're called the Salt Spring Seals. They swim every week, year-round in the ocean. And they just welcomed me in, and I felt like a little baby pup seal that these mamas just picked up in their arms. And I went to a farm, and I got to milk a cow, and I went to a cannabis greenhouse, and got accidentally a little too high on the edibles that they gave me samples of butter and crackers.
All for work, though. Don't worry about it.
All for work. I was on the job. But I think the Gulf Islands are just one of the most beautiful corners of the world, and so I was really happy that we got to go there.
What other exciting destinations have you gone to in this season that we can expect?
So Drumheller, Edmonton, mentioned Salt Spring Island, Dawson, Niagara, I told you those, Montreal. We did an episode in your town. We went to Fredericton. And how many is that? What am I forgetting?
Oh, God, I wasn't counting.
So much
I didn't realize I was being quizzed.
That's
here.
Most of them. That's at least most of them, if not all.
So if people want to tune in, Christa, when is the show on? Where can they find it? Obviously, AMIplus.ca is the one place, but it's on TV when?
9:30 Wednesday evenings.
Honestly, thank you so much for taking the time to join me. I know you're busy. What's your next destination that you're going to personally?
Oh, personally, it's for the show. We're filming in a Soyuz this weekend, so I'm heading to BC. It's such a blast. What a dream job.
Yeah, I was gonna say it's hard being you, isn't it? Well, enjoy yourself. Join us again, and we can't wait to talk to you again.
Thank you, Mark.
What a cool conversation, Stephen. You know, one of the things that caught me, not off guard, but at the beginning, she talked about needing a charter for her prosthetic leg. And after that interview, I'm like, Christa, that's going to be a whole show in itself. I know we spoke to Ottobock a couple months ago with Greg Westlake, but you know what? I want to learn more about that stuff. But she brings up so many interesting points about just planning for a trip and how it different. You know, listen, I travel with my kids, and it's daunting, man. It's you've just finished a cross the world tour to Canada. I can't imagine that's an easy task when you have to consider the accessibility side of things.
That's right. And sometimes there's a bit of a just let's go with it and see. And you're also leaning on so much of the goodwill of others a lot of the time. And I find this, you know, in that trip especially, like we got off the boat in Alaska in this amazing little place on this tiny little island which was covered in rocks, and I'm thinking, this is where I will die because I am going to fall. And it was a horrendous moment, and I had about 14 people around me helping me make sure I got to the beach safely, and it was just amazing. And that's what happens. You know, I think, you know, technology has its part to play, and that is all about, you know, making sure we can, you know, get ahead of the curve a little bit, you know what's coming up, you know, figure out the right places, as Christa says, figuring out the right place to go, but at the same time, leaning on the value of others and the kindness of others to help you get to that final destination.
Yeah, listen, it's a little bit of analog, a little bit of new tech, and it all makes the world go whir. You know, a couple months back, we talked about the Honda Scenic audio app. This is a really cool app. It was designed for people with vision loss to experience a road trip like everybody else, like sitting in a car, knowing what's around you. You're not, you know, driving across the country, whether it's an hour, whether it's 2 hours. It's an interesting experience, and you see a lot of things along the way. And we did have a chance to catch up with the two companies that got together to actually create that app, and we're excited to bring you that conversation. So we're going to take a quick break, and when we come back, Honda Scenic Audio. What is it all about? How did it come to be? We will find out. Stick around.
There's more Access Tech Live to come. Get involved and have your say at Access Tech Live on social media. We'll be right back. Access Tech Live will return in less than 2 minutes. Access Tech Live is in a commercial break. Access Tech Live will return in less than 2 minutes. Access Tech Live is in a commercial break. The show will return in less than a minute. Access Tech Live will be back in 30 seconds. Back to Access Tech Live.
Now, a couple of months back, you might remember we introduced you to an app called Honda Scenic Audio.
Yeah, it's an app designed to give people with low vision or no vision information about their surroundings, especially during a road trip, Stephen. Now, the app was developed in collaboration between the Howe Institute at the Perkins School for the Blind and Honda.
That's right, and Mark caught up with Sandy Lacey, the executive director at the Howe Institute, and Phil Haruska, the senior manager for Honda Marketing, to find out how it all came to be.
I'm so excited to welcome two incredible guests on the show to talk about a project that was on our radar about a month or so ago, and that is Honda Scenic Audio. With me right now is Phil Haruska, Senior Manager of Honda Marketing for American Honda Motor Company. Phil, welcome to the show. Thank you for joining us.
Thanks so much for having me, Mark.
And Sandy Lacey, your second appearance on the show, the Executive Director of the Howe Innovation Center at the Perkins School for the Blind. Sandy, thank you for coming back.
Thank you. It's a pleasure to be here.
We were so excited when we saw that trailer for Honda Scenic Audio and we just played the clip there for our audience. So for those who aren't aware, it's an incredible app that allows people who are low vision or blind to experience a road trip with everybody else who might be in that car who's experiencing it visually. Phil, tell me how this project came to be and why.
Yeah, for us, it really started all with Honda's philosophy around the power of dreams. Honda very much believes in the power of dreams, and that's not just a tagline. It's something that we really strive for, and we want to provide our customers with lots of access to tools and different products that make their lives better. And from there, we also have a very firm belief in inclusivity. So inclusivity for all people. So with regards to our vehicles in particular, it's not just about the driver, it's about all the people in the vehicle. And that's where this app really comes into play. And then thirdly, we're just excited about all the things that can be done with artificial intelligence and AI, and Honda's commitment to innovation. So you bring those three things together, and this app really was an exciting project for us to work on.
Was this something that Honda came up with internally or something that was suggested to you guys by a community of drivers? How did that happen? We
worked with a few different agencies on this project, and one of the key members for us is Dr. Josh Loebner, who is blind himself. And so we worked with Josh, and in one of our very first meetings with him, he told us, Phil, we have this saying in the accessibility community, nothing for us without us. And that really resonated with us at Honda. And so that's why we wanted to do this app as a beta program, as a beta test, and partner with some amazing partners such as the Perkins School for the Blind and the Howe Innovation Center. And Sandy, who's on here, has been an incredible partner And Honda also worked with the Alabama School for the Deaf and Blind. It's an almost 30-year relationship with. And then the third group that we worked with is Honda has a business resource group of associates called Enable. So we're beta testing this app with them also. And frankly, the other wonderful thing about this app is that there's just not something else like it. There's a lot of apps that are very utilitarian, like they'll tell you how to get places, or they'll describe literally what's going on. Whereas the Scenic Audio app is all about more poetic storytelling language, which is more how people and humans think and feel more when you hear a great story.
Phil, at Honda, you know, in the automotive space, disability comes up a lot in terms of making cars accessible, making sure people can, of all shapes and sizes and disabilities, can use it. Could you ever thought of a project like this 10 years ago?
I think Honda has a long history of thinking differently and trying to find, again, that power of dreams for everyone. So I think it would look differently 10 years ago. So I don't think there's an exact equivalent, but Honda has been thinking about accessibility a long time, and Honda takes these things it's very important to all of us at Honda. It's one of our core values. So that hasn't changed in 10 years, but the technology change of artificial intelligence and what's possible in real time when you're on a road trip and you're holding your phone up, I don't know if we could have envisioned that 10 years ago.
Sandy, when was the first time you heard about this development, and what was your reaction?
Sure. Honda approached us and asked, had a hypothesis on how the car journey could be improved for people who are blind or low vision. And we said, well, let's ask, let's test it. Let's ask and let's listen. So we partnered together, and we found around 30 folks with different types of blindness and low vision to meet with the Honda team and with our team through Perkins Access, and to really kind of share their journeys of what car trip experiences are like. From that initial group of 30 folks who were an exceptional, sounding board. I always say it has to be grounded in the customer journey and the user experience, right? You can always assume what somebody would want or need, but you actually have to listen to your customer, no matter what industry you're in. This is something that I'm so pleased to see Honda centering this product in the customer journey. So we did around 30 user interviews, and then we narrowed it down to probably, I think, 5 to 8 folks who we put the product in their hands to get real, on the ground feedback. And it was really exceptional. I think a lot of the times people think about accessibility as function, oh, this thing doesn't work, so make it function for everyone. And I like to say that this actually puts the fun in function, because this is an enjoyable accessibility play. It's about opening up, detailed, customizable information that I think sighted people, just take for granted that they're ingesting all the time, and really just unlocks the journey.
What was that feedback like from that test group originally when they first got their hands on it?
Yeah, it was interesting. I think some folks were, and you can even kind of see this in the video, okay, that's cool, but that's not totally what I need. And then when they experienced it, the feedback was, oh, that's cool. I didn't really realize I was not getting that information until I received the information. It's interesting to realize, what, as a sighted person, I take in on a daily basis, what kind of neighborhood I'm in, what the weather is like outside the car, if there are buildings there or not, what the coastline is. And you can see a lot of this in the video. But I think that there was an element of delight to this specific product that usually that isn't always accompanied with an accessibility play.
What are the steps, Phil, in terms of taking that user feedback and then implementing some of those things that you can into the experience?
Yeah, that's the process that we're in right now. We're continuing to do the beta testing and functionality of the app itself, and just trying to really hone it and make sure that it's as well crafted as it can be.
Now, Sandy, at the Howe Innovation Center, this is what you do. You connect people with the disability community for exactly experiences like this. When we spoke at CES, I mean, this was your raison d'etre, right? Does this relationship, with a brand like Honda, which is not a small brand, which is not an unknown startup, what significance does that have on not only what you're doing, but also the disability community as a whole?
It means a lot. I think it's really, really important for large organizations to start centering the disability experience in the customer journey. And I was over the moon when Honda and Josh Loebner reached out to see if we could partner on something like this. It's been an incredible partnership, and I'm really excited for other brands to follow suit. The other thing I just wanted to add quickly, which you might be able to splice in here somewhere, Mark, is that I really believe this technology, while developed and designed for the blind and low vision community, as autonomous vehicles actually start to take to the road more, I can see it being, again, one of those technologies that starts in the disability community, but then expands out to the general population. So, for example, like as a history buff, 8 or 9 years from now, if I'm in an autonomous vehicle and it knows that I'm a history buff, it might point out specific landmarks to me as we're going down the road that I wouldn't have been aware of just on that journey on my own. So there's a lot of technologies that have started in the disability community, whether it's text message, voice to text, bendy straws, curb cuts, electric toothbrushes, like just to name a few, that started meeting a need for people with disabilities, but are now part of, products that the general population uses every day. And I think that this has the potential to evolve into that as well.
Yeah, I totally agree with you, Sandy. I think it could easily evolve into something bigger.
Phil, what are the next steps for this? When are we going to see this get out of beta and get into the hands of people so they can be experiencing it?
Yeah, I'm asking the same question. We're wanting to get as much testing that we can and input, but looking through where it goes as we speak. So we're going to continue with the beta in the immediate future, and we're working through our plans on when is right to sort of roll to the next step. So stay tuned.
Thank you both for taking the time to join me. Such an exciting piece of news and an exciting product. I can't wait to get hands-on so we can actually, show it to our audience. So please keep us in the loop, and do let us know if there's any way that we can help, spread the message for both of you.
Will do. Thank you so much for having me. Yeah.
Thank you so much.
Stephen, what do you think? Do you think you would use this app?
I think I would absolutely love to. My question is, though, can you only use it in a Honda car?
No. It's an app, Stephen. You can use it anywhere. That'd be kind of limiting, wouldn't it? I think it might be. I'll ask that question. I don't know how that'll come across. Okay, guys, coming up, smartphones are getting more advanced every day. If you could design your dream smartphone, what unique feature would it have? Your answers after a quick break here on Access Tech Live.
There's more Access Tech Live to come. Get involved and have your say at Access Tech Live on social media. We'll be right back. Access Tech Live will return in less than 2 minutes. Access Tech Live is in a commercial break. Access Tech Live will return in less than 2 minutes. Access Tech Live is in a commercial break. The show will return in less than a minute. Access Tech Live will be back in 30 seconds. This is Access Tech Live.
Okay, let's get to a question of the week, which this week is, smartphones are getting more advanced every day. If you could design your dream smartphone, what unique feature would it have? And we've got lots of answers as usual, Mark.
Yeah, I wanted to highlight just a couple of them here. Tower wrote us, automatically catch hackers on camera so they can get in trouble and catch you. That reminds me of that Mark Rober thing when he had Porch Pirates and he built this automatic tracking machine that had fart smells and glitter everywhere. That was a very fun experiment. Stephanie wrote in, a turn-off feature every other hour for forced productivity. Okay, yeah. I mean, I guess that's, you can lock it down to try and get everybody involved. And this is probably my favorite from Karen. She writes, I never mean to say the word, and in quotes, duck, period, autocorrect.
Oh,
you have to read into that one because we just can't say it on the TV show. What would your answer to the question be, Stephen? Because I think that, we're constantly getting new features on smartphones, and they seem to think of them, all these new features before I even think of them. So I couldn't even begin to know where to start.
Well, do you know what I'm thinking about? You remember the days of radio where you used to get a handle to walk around and hold the radio and walk around the room with it or whatever, and you'd place it down somewhere? I want a handle on my smartphone, because how many times are you lying in bed, you're watching a video, you're doing something, and the phone falls on your face every single time? I want a handle to hold on to that.
These great accessories that you can get, of course, you can find them on Amazon, that have like these arms, like these friction arms to hold your phone, even iPads, like over your head and over your face. I just imagine these. Right. I imagine these coming crashing down on me, but it's definitely a fun feature. Yeah, honestly, I think more augmented reality stuff would be kind of cool to be able to hold your camera and your phone up to the world and see things a little bit differently. I think that would be fun. But all this stuff is coming. Like these companies are too smart for us. They're coming out with us these features before we even think of them. But if you have a question, if you've got an answer to this, let us know over the next couple of days, and we will talk about it perhaps next week, Stephen. But I'm not here next week. I'll be here in spirit.
No.
Because I did have a chance to catch up with Jason Bromett over at Microsoft. We'll be bringing that to you next week. Ramya Amuthan is going to be with you to help bridge the gap a little bit there. So hopefully you guys have some pretty good conversations. So you'll survive though, right?
Oh, we'll be fine. You have a nice week off. You deserve it.
Well, thank you. And, of course, thank you to all our guests this week for joining us. And, Stephen, thank you. It was so nice to be back from Halifax. We'll catch you next week here on Access Tech Live. Have a good one.
Bye-bye.
Thanks for tuning in to Access Tech Live. Follow us online on all social media at Access Tech Live. Email us feedback@accesstechlive.com. Hosted by Stephen Scott in Glasgow and Mark Aflalo in Montreal. Live show director, Anastasia Spalding-Stenhouse. Technical director, Caitlin Robinson. Audio, Jordan Mulgrave. Live graphics and playback, James Kennedy. Graphics coordinator, Eliza Rocco. Integrated described video specialist, M. Williams. Supervising producer, Michelle Dudas. Produced in collaboration with Aflalo Communications, Inc. and Double Tap Productions. Copyright 2024, Accessible Media, Inc.
An AMI original production.